What if Hollywood's hottest young stars weren't just talented, but also proudly queer? Today, we're diving into the stories of 10 rising icons, breaking rules, smashing stereotypes, and shaking up the industry with both their talent and their truth. From surprise coming outs to roles that changed everything, to bodies and faces fans can't stop talking about. These names are rewriting what it means to be young, famous, and unapologetically LGBTQ+ in Hollywood. So, which one will shock you the most? Let's find out. Kit Connor. When Kit Connor first stepped into the spotlight, most people saw exactly what Hollywood wanted them to see. A sweet-faced, soft-spoken teen with a natural talent for acting. Born in 2004, Kit started his career like so many young British actors, small roles, supporting parts, working his way up. But everything changed the moment Heartstopper hit Netflix. As Nick Nelson, Kit wasn't just playing a character. He was giving life to one of the most authentic and tender coming-out stories ever seen on mainstream TV. Millions of viewers, especially young LGBTQ+ teens, saw themselves in Nick's confusion, his fear, and finally his acceptance of who he was. It felt real, too real, and maybe that's why the questions started. Suddenly, Kit's real-life sexuality became a trending topic. Fans demanded answers. Social media speculated with brutal intensity. Every interview clip, every behind-the-scenes photo, every casual interaction with co-stars became dissected, analyzed, twisted into a narrative Kit had no control over. For a while, he stayed silent, professional, focused on his craft. But the noise only got louder. And then, in October 22, Kit finally spoke. One short, raw tweet. "Congrats for forcing an 18-year-old to out himself. I think some of you missed the point of the show." That one sentence shook both fans and the industry. Because this wasn't just a coming out, it was a call out. Kit was making it clear. Being queer isn't content for public consumption, and young LGBTQ+ actors shouldn't be bullied into revealing personal truths before they're ready. From that moment, Kit became more than just a teen heartthrob. He became a symbol. A voice for every young celebrity who's felt trapped between their private identity and public expectation. Physically, Kit's transformation has been just as striking. The shy teenager from season 1 of Heartstopper, he's now a gym-fit, leading man in the making, with a new confidence that shows both on screen and off. Directors are noticing, casting agents are calling. He's proving that being openly bisexual isn't a career ender. It's part of what makes him powerful. And the impact? Huge. Young queer fans across the world now see Kit not just as Nick Nelson, but as proof that Hollywood's old rules about queerness and marketability are finally breaking down. He's helping rewrite the narrative, where being authentic doesn't limit your opportunities, it multiplies them. So now the question is, how many more young actors will feel brave enough to follow Kit's lead? And more importantly, how long will it take for Hollywood to catch up with the courage of the kids it casts? Noah Schnapp. For years, Noah Schnapp lived a strange kind of double life, even if he didn't mean to. On screen, he was Will Byers, the quiet, sensitive kid from Stranger Things, trapped between dimensions, but more importantly, trapped inside himself. Audiences watched as Will navigated feelings he couldn't name, as he sat at the edge of every conversation, longing but never saying it out loud. Off-screen, the parallels felt too close for comfort. As Stranger Things exploded into one of Netflix's biggest global hits, the question started. Fans speculated, Reddit threads multiplied. Every glance at a male co-star, every awkward interview moment became internet debate fodder. Was it just Will, or was Noah hiding something too? For a long time, Noah stayed quiet, smiling at premieres, playing the good Netflix poster boy, letting the internet swirl around him. And honestly, who could blame him? Hollywood has never made it easy for young male stars to come out, especially when their entire image is built on fan love and marketable innocence. Then, in January 2023, without warning, Noah opened TikTok, hit record, and in 7 seconds, rewrote his narrative. No manager-approved statement, no carefully staged photo shoot, just Noah in a hoodie, lip-syncing to a trending sound, with the caption, "When I finally told my friends and family I was gay after being scared in the closet for 18 years, and all they said was, 'We know.'" And just like that, the internet exploded. But what made it different, what made it hit deeper, was the tone. It wasn't tearful. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a sit-down exclusive with a glossy magazine. It was funny, light, almost casual. Like saying, "I'm gay," was as normal as announcing your favorite pizza topping. And maybe that's why it mattered so much. For a generation raised on anxiety and identity politics, Noah gave queer kids permission to breathe, to smile, to not turn their coming out into a performance of pain. The impact was immediate. LGBTQ+ fans flooded TikTok with duets, reaction videos, and thank you posts. Entertainment media scrambled to cover the story but couldn't quite package it the way they used to with celebrity coming outs, because Noah wasn't playing by Hollywood's old rules. He didn't wait for the perfect moment. He didn't script the perfect speech. He just existed. And that choice, to treat queerness as casual, joyful, and non-negotiable, hit harder than any primetime TV announcement ever could. Since then, Noah's been embracing every part of himself, showing up to Pride events, dropping playful jokes about boys in interviews, and living his life with a kind of open ease that feels refreshing and necessary. Casting directors are watching, young actors are taking notes, and maybe, just maybe, Hollywood is finally realizing audiences don't care if their favorite Netflix star is gay. They care if he's happy. So here's something to think about. What would happen if every young queer actor stopped waiting for permission and just took up space like Noah did? Would Hollywood finally follow their lead, or would the system get left behind? Joe Locke. If Kit Connor was the reluctant heartthrob, then Joe Locke is the loudspeaker. Growing up on the tiny Isle of Man, Joe wasn't exactly surrounded by Hollywood lights or LGBTQ+ role models. Small town, small school, even smaller conversations about queerness. But somehow, that didn't stop him from dreaming big or speaking up. When Heartstopper dropped on Netflix, Joe wasn't just the other guy opposite Kit. He became the emotional heartbeat of the series. As Charlie Spring, he gave viewers something rare. A queer teen lead, written with care, acted with depth, and portrayed by someone who actually knew what it felt like to live that story. And from the jump, Joe wasn't playing coy about his own identity. While other young actors stayed quiet or ambiguous, Joe was tweeting about LGBTQ+ issues, posting pride selfies, and openly discussing how growing up gay shaped his worldview. But let's be clear, Joe didn't turn into some corporate-friendly, rainbow-filtered version of a queer celebrity. His voice stayed sharp, funny, sometimes a little chaotic in the best way. One day he's dragging politicians on Twitter for anti-LGBTQ+ policies. The next day he's making jokes about fan thirst tweets or dropping sarcastic TikToks about being single. That duality? It works, because Joe represents something Hollywood desperately needed. A young, openly gay actor who doesn't shrink himself to stay employable. In 2023, Marvel came knocking. Yup, Marvel. Joe landed a major role in Agatha: Coven of Chaos, which means, while some studios still hesitate to cast openly gay men in major franchises, Joe's already breaking that ceiling and laughing on the way up. Meanwhile, his fan base, especially queer teens, has exploded. They don't just see him as a celebrity, they see him as proof that being young and out doesn't mean limiting your career. Joe's Instagram comments? Full of LGBTQ+ kids saying things like, "You made me feel seen for the first time. Because of you, I told my parents. Watching you live your truth makes me brave enough to start living mine." And honestly, what's more Hollywood defining than that? He's redefining what a young, gay leading man can look like, sound like, tweet like, and advocate like. He's not just booking roles, he's starting conversations. And in his own Gen Z way, he's proving that being unapologetically queer, outspoken, and even a little messy online isn't a career risk anymore. It's a career flex. So here's something to sit with. What happens when the loudest, proudest voices in young Hollywood stop asking for a seat at the table and just start building their own? Because with Joe Locke leading the charge, that reality doesn't seem too far off. Garrett Clayton. For a while, Garrett Clayton felt like the perfect Disney dream. sun-bleached hair, movie star smile, leading man energy with just the right amount of boy-next-door charm. His breakout role in Teen Beach Movie turned him into every tween's summer crush. Singing, dancing, surfboards, sparkly clean image. But behind that made-for-TV glow, Garrett was carrying something much heavier. While millions of fans were falling for his on-screen persona, Garrett was quietly battling depression, anxiety, and the constant fear of being outed. Hollywood at the time was still whispering the same old narrative: if you're a young male star and you're gay, keep it quiet or risk your career. And Garrett did keep it quiet for years. Until 2018, that's when everything shifted. In a powerful, deeply personal Instagram post, Garrett finally shared his truth with the world. He came out as gay, opening up about his long-term relationship, his mental health struggles, and the real-life pain that inspired his performance in the LGBTQ+ film Reach. His words weren't polished PR speak. They weren't filtered through agents or press teams. They were raw, honest, vulnerable. And for thousands of LGBTQ+ youth reading that post, it was the first time they saw a Disney star step off the scripted path and say something real. But Garrett didn't stop there. Instead of playing it safe post-coming out, he went full throttle. His performance as porn star Brent Corrigan in King Cobra shocked industry insiders. This wasn't the Garrett from Teen Beach anymore. This was an actor ready to take risks, to dive into complex, messy human roles, regardless of what Hollywood thought. And off-screen, Garrett became a relentless advocate for LGBTQ+ mental health. He started working with the Trevor Project, using his platform to talk openly about suicide prevention and depression among queer youth. In interviews, Garrett's made it clear, if my story can help even one kid feel less alone, then every bit of fear I felt before coming out was worth it. Today, with a growing music career, a fearless approach to acting, and a fiancé by his side, Garrett's showing young queer entertainers that you don't have to choose between being successful and being yourself. And for an industry that spent decades telling gay male actors to play it straight, that's a storyline worth celebrating. Because sometimes, the most revolutionary thing a former Disney star can do isn't book another role. It's showing up exactly as he is and reminding the next generation, you're allowed to live this loudly too. Zane Phillips. If there's one thing Zane Phillips isn't doing in Hollywood, it's blending in. Let's be real, before people knew his name, they definitely knew his body. Chiseled abs, perfect jawline, that effortless mix of brooding and flirtatious energy. When Fire Island dropped on Hulu, Zane stole almost every scene he was in, just by walking into the frame. Playing the smug, shirtless, emotionally unavailable love interest, nailed it, effortlessly. But here's the plot twist. For most of Hollywood history, guys who look like Zane, they weren't allowed to be out. They were stuck playing the hyper-straight romantic leads, carefully curated, carefully closeted. Zane said, "Nope, not doing that." Right from the start, he owned his identity. Proudly gay, loudly confident, no maybe not interviews, no cryptic Instagram captions, just full, glorious visibility, paired with the kind of gym selfies that made the internet collectively forget how to breathe. And while fans first noticed him for his looks, they stayed for something else: his sense of humor, his charm, his refusal to play small in an industry that still sometimes expects gay actors to shrink themselves, both figuratively and literally. Scroll through Zane's Twitter and you'll find memes, jokes about dating disasters, and the occasional post where he casually drops some LGBTQ+ commentary, like it's just another Tuesday. Because for him, being gay isn't something to hide or over-explain. It's just part of the vibe. And that vibe? It's changing how casting directors think. Zane's now showing producers that you can be out, openly queer, and still play the hot guy. The lead, the romantic interest, the action role, all of it. He's already started breaking into bigger projects beyond Fire Island, appearing in shows like Legacies and popping up on magazine covers where the caption is just as likely to talk about LGBTQ+ rights as it is to talk about his latest workout routine. But here's what makes Zane's impact bigger than his biceps. For a whole generation of young queer guys scrolling Instagram wondering if they have to pick between being sexy or being themselves, Zane is proof you can be both. You can post the thirst trap, you can speak on queer visibility, you can do both in the same day and still book the role. And let's be honest, who doesn't secretly love that kind of energy? So next time you double tap one of his photos, just ask yourself, are you here for the abs, the advocacy, or maybe a little bit of both? Whatever your reason, Hollywood's watching. And with Zane Phillips leading the way, the game is changing, one unapologetic flex at a time. Joshua Bassett. At first glance, Joshua Bassett's story looked like every other Disney success formula. A cute boy with a guitar, a breakout role in a hit series, viral TikToks, fan edits set to soft acoustic love songs. He was the face millions of teens pinned on their walls, the guy everyone shipped, the star of every daydream that ended with a perfect prom dance or a summer love confession. But here's what no one saw coming. That behind all the smiles and all the staged duets, Joshua was quietly unraveling. The pressure to be perfect, the internet dissecting every friendship, every lyric, every glance. Then came that now infamous 2021 interview. A casual, almost playful comment about Harry Styles. Just a few words, but they triggered something much bigger than a trending hashtag. Suddenly, the internet wasn't asking about Joshua's new single. They were asking, wait, is he? While fans speculated and tabloids spiraled, Joshua sat with it all, and when he finally spoke, there was no flashy announcement, no carefully crafted label, no big PR rollout, just one quiet, messy, deeply human sentence. I guess this is also my coming out video. And with that, Joshua stepped into one of the most unpredictable chapters of his life. What followed wasn't a victory lap, it was vulnerability, therapy sessions, panic attacks, nights where he wasn't sure if he could keep going, interviews where he teared up, songs that felt more like journal entries than radio hits. His EPs became survival soundtracks, not just for him, but for every LGBTQ+ fan sitting in their bedroom, replaying his lyrics, wondering if it was finally okay to feel all the things they'd buried for so long. Sad Songs in a Hotel Room wasn't just a title, it was a mood, a coping mechanism, a lifeline. And slowly, something shifted. Joshua started talking openly about mental health, about masculinity, about loving whoever you love, even when the world wants you to apologize for it. Then came his role in Better Nate Than Ever, a Disney movie centered around a queer kid chasing Broadway dreams. The kind of project Joshua himself admits he wishes existed when he was younger. His fan base evolved too, from casual pop listeners to a community of queer teens and 20-somethings who saw themselves in every shaky Instagram caption, every raw lyric, every unfiltered interview. And here's the thing, Joshua's story isn't about having the perfect coming out. It's about showing up for yourself, even when your voice shakes. Because in an industry still obsessed with polished personas, Joshua Bassett became something way more powerful, a reminder that healing looks different for everyone. So next time you hear one of his songs at 2 a.m., headphones in, lights off, and you catch yourself relating a little too hard, just know, you're not the only one listening for answers between the lyrics. Joshua Rush. Some Disney stars grow up and quietly disappear from the spotlight. Joshua Rush? Yeah, that's not really his style. While most kids his age were learning how to parallel park or survive high school crushes, Joshua was out here, making history. After charming audiences as Cyrus Goodman on Andy Mack, Disney Channel's first openly gay series regular character ever, Joshua could have played it safe. He could have smiled for the cameras, stayed cute, booked another teen comedy, and coasted on fan love for years. But that's not how Joshua does things. In 2019, at just 17, he casually dropped this tweet. First to play an openly gay character on Disney Channel, and first openly bi Disney actor. Incredible. Mic drop. No dramatic build-up. No vague captions. Just straight-up honesty in true Gen Z fashion. And if you thought that was where the story ended, think again. While other young actors were booking endorsement deals, Joshua was out organizing voter registration drives, speaking at political rallies, and interning for politicians. Not even kidding. This wasn't just performative allyship for Instagram likes. He literally paused his acting career to dive headfirst into politics and activism. Healthcare reform, he's tweeting about it. Voter rights, hosting Zoom panels. Climate change, front row at the protest. His Instagram feed became a mix of colorful selfies and action items for his 2 million followers. And the coolest part, he made activism accessible, relatable, sometimes even funny. Because for Joshua, being part of the LGBTQ+ community wasn't just about personal identity. It was about changing the systems that affect everyone, especially queer youth. He turned awkward interviews into teachable moments. Used TikTok not just for trends, but to explain how voter suppression works. And yeah, he still drops the occasional thirst trap or goofy behind-the-scenes pic, because even political nerds need to have fun. So while Hollywood kept debating whether young LGBTQ+ actors could stay marketable, Joshua Rush proved you could be out, loud, and make real change at the same time. Honestly, when was the last time a Disney star went from red carpet premieres to voter turnout campaigns without missing a beat? Makes you wonder, if more young celebrities had Joshua's energy, how different would Hollywood, and maybe even politics, look right now? Because Joshua Rush didn't just redefine what it means to be a young queer star, he redefined what it means to show up. Period. Miles Heizer. Some actors break through with loud headlines and viral moments. Miles Heizer? He did it with a whisper and a whole lot of emotional depth. From his early days as a child actor to his breakout role in 13 Reasons Why, Miles never fit the typical Hollywood young male star mold. No over-the-top PR stunts, no perfectly polished boy band smile, just a quiet, thoughtful energy that somehow made you want to know more. And when he took on the role of Alex Standell in 13 Reasons Why, something clicked. Suddenly, here was this soft-spoken guy, delivering one of the most emotionally layered performances on Netflix, tackling topics like mental health, trauma, and identity with a kind of raw honesty that felt different. Less scripted, more lived in. But it wasn't just the acting. Off-screen, Miles brought that same quiet realness to his personal life. There was no dramatic coming-out moment, no magazine cover, no tearful Instagram confession. Instead, it started with photos, a soft-lit picture with his boyfriend, a casual comment in an interview, a post about queer joy, dropped into a feed otherwise full of indie band recommendations and unfiltered selfies. And honestly, that felt revolutionary in its own way. Because for so long, Hollywood has treated young gay actors like they had to choose. Be out or be castable. Be marketable or be authentic. Miles chose both. His role in Love, Simon, playing another queer teen navigating love and labels, felt like a natural extension of who he was becoming off-screen. And while some questioned whether openly gay actors could still land mainstream roles, Miles didn't engage in the discourse. He just kept showing up, kept working, kept living. And maybe that's why fans connect with him so deeply. Because not every LGBTQ+ person wants to be the loudest voice in the room. Some want to exist quietly, safely, without explanation. And Miles gives them that blueprint. His Instagram isn't full of viral TikToks or overly polished pride campaigns. It's late-night selfies, soft lighting, friends hanging out in oversized hoodies, and the occasional lyric quote that makes you wonder, is he talking about someone specific, or is that just me overthinking at 2 a.m.? Either way, Miles isn't here to perform queerness for the camera. He's here to live it, in his own way, at his own pace, and on his own terms. And in a Hollywood obsessed with overexposure, that kind of quiet confidence might just be the loudest statement of all. Justice Smith. In Hollywood, it's one thing to come out, it's another thing to speak out. Justice Smith? He's done both, loudly, proudly, and with zero interest in playing it safe. For many fans, their first introduction to Justice was through blockbuster hits like Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom and Pokémon Detective Pikachu. Big budget, big screens, big expectations. But behind the CGI dinosaurs and adventure storylines, there was a young, black, queer actor trying to figure out how much of himself he was allowed to show. For a while, Justice stayed quiet, navigating red carpets, doing the promo tours, answering the same interview questions about co-stars and special effects. And then, 2020 happened. As the world erupted in conversations about Black Lives Matter, racial justice, and LGBTQ+ rights, Justice reached a breaking point. He opened Instagram and dropped a post that would change everything. "We must stand up for our queer family, our black queer sisters, brothers, and siblings." Short, direct. No room for misinterpretation. For the first time, fans and the industry saw the unfiltered version of Justice Smith. Not just the actor, but the activist. The person who understood that for black queer people, silence isn't just uncomfortable, it's dangerous. In the months that followed, Justice became one of the loudest, most unapologetic voices for intersectionality in Hollywood. He used interviews not just to talk about projects, but to call out systemic racism, queer erasure, lack of representation. When asked why he decided to come out when he did, Justice said it simply: "Because my existence is political, whether I like it or not." And the work didn't stop there. On screen, he kept choosing roles that mattered. In The Get Down, he captured the vulnerability of a young artist finding his voice in a world that wanted him invisible. In All the Bright Places, he tackled mental health with nuance and heart. And then came Generation, a messy, beautiful, painfully real portrait of queer teens just trying to survive. For Justice, it wasn't just acting, it was storytelling with purpose. Zelda Barnes, the show's creator, said it best: "Justice brought so much depth and authenticity to his role. He's helping change the narrative around queer youth in media." And that's exactly it. Justice isn't here to just take up space on a casting call. He's here to take up space in the conversation. He's here for the queer kids scrolling through social media, looking for someone who looks like them, talks like them, loves like them, and refuses to apologize for any of it. And yeah, while the world still catches up to what black queer visibility should look like in mainstream media, Justice Smith is already miles ahead. So next time you see him on screen, whether he's battling dinosaurs or breaking your heart in an indie drama, just remember, for every line he delivers, there's a bigger story behind it. A story about identity, about resilience, and about never letting Hollywood decide how loud you're allowed to be. Lucas Cruikshank. And here we are, the final name on this list. The OG, the blueprint, the guy who was making viral content before most of today's TikTok stars even knew how to upload a video. Lucas Cruikshank didn't just enter Hollywood, he crash-landed into pop culture, screaming at the top of his lungs, in the voice of a hyperactive 6-year-old named Fred Figglehorn. If you were anywhere near the internet in the late 2000s, you knew Fred, high-pitched, over-caffeinated, living in a chaotic suburban nightmare that somehow made millions laugh. But behind the scenes, Lucas was figuring out something a lot more real and a lot more personal. For years, while Fred Mania swept across YouTube and even got picked up by Nickelodeon, Lucas kept his private life, well, private. Fans speculated, rumors floated, but Lucas kept doing what he did best, making people laugh. Then, in 2013, without warning or build-up, Lucas grabbed a camera, hit record, and posted a YouTube video with 6 simple words: "I'm gay. I feel weird saying it." No dramatic background music, no multi-part docuseries. Just Lucas, sitting on his bedroom floor, laughing awkwardly, being exactly the unfiltered, self-aware person fans had always loved. And honestly, that's what made it hit so hard. Because here was a YouTuber, one of the first internet-born celebrities, coming out in a way that felt familiar, relatable, like a friend oversharing on FaceTime. Lucas didn't turn his identity into a rebrand or a press tour. He just kept being Lucas, cracking jokes about dating guys, making memes about growing up gay in Nebraska, throwing shade at YouTube algorithms. And as years passed, something cool happened. Fans who'd grown up with Fred came back to support Lucas as himself. Queer kids who were 10 when they first clicked on his videos now saw him as proof that it's okay to evolve, to change, to grow. loudly and publicly in front of millions. Lucas also became a low-key pioneer for LGBTQ+ representation on YouTube, way before coming out online became a trend or a TikTok soundbite. And even today, between goofy storytime videos and casual vlogs, there's this quiet, consistent thread running through everything he posts. Be weird, be loud, be whoever the hell you want. So yeah, he may have started with a fake high-pitched voice and a love for bacon, but Lucas Cruikshank ended up giving a whole generation of queer kids something even better: permission to laugh their way through figuring it all out. And if that's not redefining Hollywood on your own terms, honestly, what is? And just like that, we've reached the end of our list. 10 young stars, 10 unique stories, and one shared truth. Hollywood is changing because they dared to show up as themselves. Some were loud, some were quiet, some made us laugh, others made us cry. But each of them redefined what it means to be young, talented, and proudly queer in this industry. So now it's your turn. Which story hit you the hardest? Which one made you smile, or maybe made you feel a little less alone? Drop your thoughts below. And if you want more stories like this, hit that like, leave a comment, and of course, subscribe, because we're just getting started.